to facilitate the legal rights of the indigent and take care of them, and also perhaps in some way right certain unconstitutional injustices, if you want to call them injustices, that have been statutory.
Your predecessor was criticized for running Dallas Legal Services in an abrasive manner.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to run the job in a non-abrasive manner?
Well, I'm going to try. I would like to think, I've talked to Ed, and Ed is a very forceful individual. He's either hell yes or hell no, and he was very opinionated, and his opinions were well-founded and in some areas and well taken in a lot of areas. Even a dog knows the difference of being kicked and stumbled over. I plan to try to, in some way, use what means that I have at my command to perhaps tackle problems in a little different manner.
Do you intend to be non-controversial then?
Oh, no. I'm sure that what I'll do, I'll still have to step on toes of necessity, and that will be when I can't work it out. But I will sit across the council table, and I'll try to attempt in some way, because both sides lose usually when you go to court. Some judgments recite that one party wins, but that isn't always the case. If somebody has a right, and he is an indigent, and he qualifies under the OEO project, and the class action is warranted, and if it cannot be worked out, then the only recourse that the man has is the courts, and we will get it on.
This circular has all the earmarks of being printed by some people who still have the same ideologies, inhumane beliefs, thieves of social justice, rapists of human rights, destruction of our Constitution, and bigots of religious freedom, as the same people who put Adolf Hitler and other dictators into power to disrupt, destroy, and enslave our civilized world. I have informed our local police department and at least one federal agency of this deplorable incident. The police department is well on top of the situation, and they know the source of this unhealthy propaganda. And I assure you that the source is not from the concerned citizens of Dallas against forced school busing or any of its members. It is derived from a self-styled Nazi organization who is well known by the Dallas Police Department. I encourage and I solicit that any person receiving this type of circular to try and identify the person and report it to the Dallas Police Department immediately.
In the past, people just could not buy flood insurance. The insurance companies could not sell it because of the adverse risk. Today, someone can buy a flood insurance policy in an eligible community for $70, where if they tried to buy it at the actuarial rate, the same policy would run $560.
What about people who move into flood-prone areas now? Are they eligible for the federal assistance?
If they live in an eligible community and purchase an existing property in a flood-prone area, they can purchase the insurance at subsidized rates. However, if we've identified the area of special flood hazard within the community and they build in the flood-prone area, they can only purchase the insurance at actuarial rates, which are considerably higher.
I would would like to urge the John F. Kennedy Memorial Commission to recommend to the Texas Legislature that the state of Texas acquire the Texas School Book Depository Building site by gift, donation, or eminent domain for a great museum to memorialize the life and death of John F. Kennedy. Thousands upon thousands more visitors from all over Texas, from all over this nation and the world will continue to visit this site. Their numbers will continue to grow with the passing years. We owe this as a truly great memorial to a truly great president and to the people of Texas, particularly to the future generations.
No, I didn't think football would be as good in the States as what it has been, but I think that as far as the Tornadoes are concerned, I think without doubt they must be the best all-round team, in the North American Football League, without doubt, individually and collectively.
Who will Newman use in your departure and also in yours?
I think Tony McLaughlin and Bobby Moffett have just come back from injury. I think they'll probably use those up front.
Well, there will not be as much depth then for the drive, will there?
Possibly not as much depth, but I still think they're good enough to win.
What about Rochester? This will be your last game and also Tony's.
Yeah, well, they're a hard team, and I think we'll beat them quite easy. The way the team's going, we've got momentum now.
The results from the city officials was kind of interesting. As you well know, there was 11 members on the city council. I had received 6 replies. 5 definitely were opposed for school busing. The 6th member stated that he opposed it only, he opposed it if all children would get quality education, but he would be in favor of it if all children would not get quality education. This was George Allen.
Several major items are on the agenda tonight. Board members will hear a report on the full-day kindergarten program in the public schools. Some of the members had asked for an evaluation of the full-day status, questioning whether a half-day might not be better. The report is expected to show that for the system, the full-day plan is still the best at present. The board is also expected to approve changing of the immunization policy to conform with state law. This will mean the addition of several immunization shots for students to include polio, diphtheria, measles, and rubella. Also on the agenda will be consideration of the annexation of the Wheatland Common School District, the last in the county. Only a couple of students are involved, most of the annexation of the Common School District dealing with land. The rest of the 7:30 meeting will be taken up with a consideration of bids for various supplies with which to start the school year. The meeting is expected to be long, but mostly routine. Jerry Park, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
We've been impressed with the growing contribution made in the Collin County area and the impact that particular section can have on our region as a whole, and we want to submit the name of Mr. Roland Boyd from McKinney. Mr. Boyd, by way of further explanation to some who would not know, is the current president of the East Texas Chamber of Commerce, and surely that speaks eloquently as to his capability.
There's no doubt that 19-year-old Lallery Piggott died of hepatitis. The question over which the county health officer, Dr. J.M. Pickard, and the county medical examiner's office disagree is whether it was infectious hepatitis. The ME says no, it was a liver infection, but not contagious, and the ME does the post-mortem examination. But Dr. Pickard claims Piggott died of infectious hepatitis. In any case, both men agree there is no danger of an epidemic in the overcrowded Dallas County Jail. The jail, built to hold 1,200 prisoners, now has more than 1,700, and any kind of epidemic here would probably be disastrous. A second inmate, 52-year-old Morgan Edwin Moten, is in Parkland Hospital with what officials think might be hepatitis, but they're not sure. In any case, whether an epidemic threatens or not, officials are trying to track down anyone exposed to the disease and inoculate them against it. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move at the Dallas County Jail.
Well, primarily because the government contracts that we used to have so many of them had reduced and reduced and reduced some more. And in fact, there are just a very few of them available today. They cannot move across the country to get another job. But there has been some local resistance, too, to hiring airspace people.
Why?
Well, quite frankly, they've been afraid that another contract would come along and they would jump the job they're on and go after the higher pay.
Well, they include a number of features. Some of the illustrations that I believe you have here to show include a loop road system around the core of the downtown area to facilitate easier traffic flow. It incorporates a mall on Houston Street connecting the major retail stores, trees, street furniture to make a more attractive and easier place to walk up and down and shop. Another feature of the plan is an overlook park on the Trinity River, overlooking the Trinity River, connecting the work of the Streams and Valleys Committee and the Trinity River with the downtown plan itself.
Well, actually, what the charter amendment would do, it would remove the 13 cents, which had been set up by the charter on the ad valorem tax on every dollar, which is set aside for only park and recreational needs. Now, if this amendment goes into effect, that means that the 13 cents then would be put into a general fund, and the Park and Recreation Board would be only in advisory capacity. Now, the park this morning met with the City Council in the general discussion, and we expressed to them our feelings, why we felt this board should remain as it is, a semi-autonomous board.
We do not feel that one flight attendant can adequately serve and take care of in an emergency situation 50 passengers.
You're also very outspoken about cabin safety itself. What do you feel is wrong with the cabin?
The problem with the cabin mostly seems to be in galley area equipment that is not secured, in the jump seats for the stewardesses, the seats the stewardesses have to sit on for takeoff and landing, not being secure, not having proper seat belts or shoulder harnesses to protect the flight attendant in the event of an emergency.
What happens in case of an emergency?
Well, in an emergency, if you have an impact, sometimes we've actually had jump seats break or fall off the wall, fold up, with the results being that stewardesses have been knocked unconscious or injured, incapacitated, strangled with seat belts. Therefore, they're not able to help the passengers in an evacuation, and there's no cabin leadership.
I think we're going to have a good football team. It all depends on how the quarterbacking goes, but we filled in all the other positions, and we're quite hopeful.
How much will you miss Plunkett?
This is going to be real tough.
Who will you replace him with?
Yeah. Don Bunce or Mike Barilla, they'll be the guys to take over the job. Probably Bunce will have the inside track. More of a scrambling quarterback, doesn't have quite the size, but very elusive, very quick. He backed up Jim Plunkett for 2 years, and then this last year decided rather than do it 3 years in a row, he'd rather sit out and have 1 year when Jim wasn't around.
Will the film on Plunkett, which brings you to Dallas, be available for college coaches or clubs? Or
yes, this film that we're putting together right at the present time, we think will be a tremendous advantage to any quarterback. A nice thing about Jim Plunkett, he has great passing style. In fact, if you were to pick out a form thrower, well, it'd be hard to to duplicate or exceed Jim Plunkett. He has all the styles of passing. He can sprint out, he can drop back. Drop back naturally is his favorite way to go, and he has a great strong arm. He can, his passing form is exceptional, and this film will be available almost immediately to all high school and college coaches.
On behalf of all of the employees of the Dallas County Sheriff's Office, this is presented to Ann Price Turner on this the 29th day of July 1971 on completion of her 38th year of duty. Grateful recognition of the services rendered to the Dallas County Sheriff's Department during the administration of Sheriff R.A. Smoot Smith, Sheriff J.E. Bill Deckard, and Sheriff Clarence Jones. And every one of these people, every one of them, including a lot of citizens in this county, owe this lady a great deal more than he'll ever be able to repay.
I love people. No, I loved my work. I enjoyed it. But you haven't given me long enough time to know whether I'll miss it. Right now, I'm thoroughly enjoying my rest and sleeping until 8:30. Now, I have no doubt but what the time will come when I will miss it. But right now, I'm enjoying myself.
What are you going to do since you're retired now?
Well, I made no plans. Right now, as I said before, or did I say that I'm keeping my oldest son's Basset hound? He came down to see me and said, hesitatingly, Mother, I don't want to tie you down, but we wondered if you could keep the dog. I got him told. I told him I'd keep the dog. And I have the dog, and my cat and that dog were very unfriendly at first, but I made peace between them. And outside, they're rereading a few old books, Carl. And I might as well never have read them before. But I'm thoroughly enjoying rereading some of my favorite old books, and you'd never guess what some of them are.
Miss Ann, we're going to miss you. Good luck.
As I made the statement before the assembled group, my executive committee from the Chamber of Commerce had instructed me to do what I could to get a position on the board of directors. And this is what I was doing. I was carrying out their instructions, and I felt that this was the right thing to do. And I felt that we are a representative part of the community, and we wanted to be here so we could participate. And we felt that we could participate best by being a part of the board of directors.
Section 14 of this law provides that that once a juror has been challenged or not used, we'll say, on a jury, that he shall be immediately dismissed from jury service and shall not be placed on another jury panel until his name is returned to the jury wheel and drawn again as a prospective juror, which means in effect he's through for the year, just about. So, the discussion with the Commissioner's Court this morning, in answer to their questions, revolved around the problem. The judges have decided to issue a call for 1,000 jurors each Monday, each Tuesday, and each Wednesday until we see what the experience will have been. We actually ran out of jurors in criminal cases on Tuesday morning this week.
Probably hard to think of what is the most outstanding thing, but what might be the fondest memory that you might have of the department?
Carl, I don't believe that it would be possible for me to answer that question. I have so many fond memories. It goes back, my memories go back so far, and so many things can take place in that time. There are so many kindnesses on the part of so many people here. My employer, Bill Decker, was like a brother to me, and he did so many kind things for me. And Henry Wade, there's no one I'm fonder of than I am Henry Wade. So many of the judges, they've all done such wonderful things for me. But I think that probably what might be my most exciting and gratifying memory was when Bill Decker was elected sheriff of Dallas County. I had worked with him 14 years, and as I have said before, I loved him like a brother, and I never think of that night that I don't have a sense of victory.
A passive experiment. And when I say passive, I mean in the sense that it's not powered in flight. We eject a subsatellite from the command service module. It goes into an orbit which is then only perturbed by the gravitational attraction of the moon. The subsatellite is a particles and fields satellite. The main effort in this particular satellite is to measure the particles field around the moon, such as the plasma flow, solar rays, magnetic field, magnetic particles, and this type of thing around the moon. Because of the way the satellite is built, and because of the way the data is transmitted back to Earth, we get a very nice byproduct from the satellite, and that is that we can track the subsatellite with radar, with radio signals from the Earth, and we can position it precisely in its orbit about the moon, and we can watch the perturbations of the orbit of the subsatellite, eventually arriving at a very good model of the gravitational field of the moon. And there's been a lot of talk about heavy spots on the moon, the so-called mascons. Because the subsatellite is completely unpowered, it's completely at the mercy of this gravitational field, and any heavy mascon that it sees perturbs its orbit. And we can calculate this. We can measure it and then calculate that gravitational field.
It is door on the side of the service module will be jettisoned, exposing the cameras and scientific instruments, 10 in all, of the moon's surface, panoramic camera, and the a satellite to be placed in orbit around the moon shortly before the crew heads earthward. The subsatellite
It is to inform the West Side parents of the elementary school children that are served by Western Hills High School and Arlington Heights High School of what the Concerned Citizens Group is recommending, what we are doing to try to put a halt to the busing of their children or to keep them in their neighborhood school.
Does the Concerned Citizens for Neighborhood Schools have an alternate solution to the busing situation?
This we're not no, right at the present time we don't. We are working on some plans that I couldn't comment on at this time.